Alright, so I just got done looking at the nominees for the Spike Video Game Awards, this year's Spike Video Game Awards. And basically I just wanted to give my thoughts on some of the choices and my thoughts on the show overall, blah 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 blah. Um, so without further ado, let me get started. Um, let's see. Best voice actor. Um, we have Troy Baker as Joel in The Last of Us. Troy Baker as Booker DeWitt in Bioshock Infinite. Stephen Ogg, I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's O G G. I'm just gonna go with Ogg. Stephen Ogg as Trevor Phillips in Grand Theft Auto 5. And Willem Dafoe as Dr. Nathan Dawkins in Beyond Two Souls. Well, okay. Here's where I think one of the problems creeps in. If you're gonna, I mean, I'm aware this has happened with award shows in the past, but Troy Baker nominated for two categories when one of those categories could have been taken up by someone else. Um, I mean, granted, Troy Baker is a very talented voice actor. Um, although I don't, just off the top of my head, he's who else? Who else did he play this year? I mean, Joel and Booker DeWitt are the two big ones, but why not nominate him for the Joker? Although in retrospect, he was kind of doing an impression of Mark Hamill. I mean, he and Roger Craig Smith were just doing impressions of Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy as the definitive Batman and Joker voices. So to a certain extent, I can understand because it's not really an original performance. But I still think it deserves, I don't know, maybe an honorable mention or something like that. Um, why not nominate Nolan North for for his work? I mean, what games he was in Deadpool. Well, he was also in The Last of Us, albeit in a he only showed up near the end as David, the cannibal leader. But I actually thought that was a really creepy performance, and I didn't even recognize him. I didn't even. I mean, a lot of the times, even with the best voice actors, I can kind of tell that it's them doing the voice. They do it. Not that they do a bad job at this disguising their voice at all, but the thing is, you can just kind of tell that they're manipulating their voice. It's a lot of the times that's what I hear when I hear Grey Delisle voice a character. I mean, Grey Delisle is a very talented voice actress, but a lot of her roles you can just tell are from the same person. Um, but yeah, Nolan North I did not even recognize until I saw it in the end credits. I'm like, really? That was Nolan North? Wow. And he was so creepy in that game. I mean, I love that one line he did. I'm trying to remember what it was when he's talking to Ellen, not Ellen, Ellie by the campfire. He's like, said that the others had been slaughtered by a crazy man. When he said that, I was just like, okay, I really love this character. um, if only mainly for his line deliveries, because wow, did he knock that out of the park. But if you didn't want to nominate Nolan North for The Last of Us, which is understandable because he wasn't really in it all that much, you could have nominated him for Deadpool. I mean, Deadpool wasn't exactly a critically acclaimed game, but Nolan North carried that game. Nolan North is widely regarded as the best part of that game, because Nolan North is, I mean, he is basically shined as Deadpool, as a lot of people's favorite interpretation of Deadpool ever since he first showed up in Hulk versus Wolverine. but and to see him not get recognized for that, for and I've watched the cutscenes for the Deadpool game. I've seen him, or I've heard him as Deadpool countless times, both in movies and in video games, and I'm just sitting there like, this guy deserves an award for that. I mean, again, it's not that Troy Baker is a bad actor. I mean, he is a very good voice actor, but the thing is, what? I mean, is it a case of the Oscars where even if a very good performance is in a movie that wasn't critically acclaimed, then they just don't acknowledge it? I mean, I know that's a pretty big generalization, but it really does kind of seem like that situation to me. I I don't know. I just don't know. Um, I didn't play Grand Theft Auto 5 uh, because I just didn't. Honestly, I've never been a huge Grand Theft Auto fan. The Grand Theft Auto games are not bad games, but I don't know. I just like Rockstar's other genre games. I liked LA Noire. I liked Red Dead Redemption. Grand Theft Auto 5. I just didn't feel a need to buy Grand Theft Auto 5, especially considering some of the crimes associated with it. Not in the game itself, but some of the unfortunate events that befell those who bought it. I mean, apparently people were getting mugged for their copy of Grand Theft Auto 5. But I digress. Willem Dafoe as Nathan Dawkins. I said this. I believe I said this in my review of Beyond Two Souls. Willem Dafoe is probably, in my opinion, one of the only decent performances in that game. Um, and I'm kind of torn on this because I do think it is worthy of recognition, but considering it's not really a vocal performance, I'm not really sure if it qualifies. I mean, I could be challenged on this, but but the way they did it is they basically did motion capture. They put mocap dots all over his face. They put him in a mocap suit, and they just had the actors, him included, just act out the scenes. That's when in reality most voice actors just go into a recording studio and just kind of speak into a microphone. I don't know. I don't know. I just wish Nolan North at least got a nomination. Because, yeah. Let's see. Best Voice Actress. Ashley Johnson as Ellie. Uh, Courtney Draper as Elizabeth in Bioshock Infinite. Camilla Luddington as Lara Croft in the Tomb Raider reboot. And Ellen Page as Jodie Holmes. Alright, Ashley Johnson. I can easily see Ashley Johnson taking this award home. Mainly because of how critically acclaimed all across the board The Last of Us was. That combined with the fact that it is a very good performance. I mean, in hindsight, Ellie was probably my favorite character in the game. I mean, she was so likable in that game, and a lot of that had to do with Ashley Johnson's deliveries and a lot of the incorporation of her little I don't want to say tomboyish characteristics, but I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. I mean, Ashley Johnson just gave the character this very powerful inner strength, but you could still tell that she was a kid. Obviously, Ashley Johnson's not a kid. I mean, she's like 30, but but if Ashley Johnson takes this award home, I will not be dissatisfied. I mean, she's kind of in the same boat as Troy Baker and the other Last of Us actors and the other Beyond Two Souls actors, where they're not really it's not a traditional vocal performance, but I'm a little more lenient toward The Last of Us because mainly because they're not using the facial dots. I mean, with Beyond Two Souls, they basically captured every single movement, every single quirk that they could by just mocapping every aspect of their body. With The Last of Us and with the Uncharted games, looking back, they basically just put them in the mocap suits, but left their face completely free, and just kind of use their movements, and then put their voices in separately. A lot of the time, they had to do ADR, additional dialogue recording. So I'm a little more lenient toward the voice actors and the non-voice actors in The Last of Us than I am with the completely mocap actors in Beyond Two Souls. Courtney Draper, I did not play Bioshock Infinite. I know I'm naming all these games that I didn't play, these high-profile games like Bioshock Infinite and Grand Theft Auto 5 that I didn't play. Um, but I've never just, I don't know, I've just never been a huge Bioshock fan. I don't, and it's not because I think they're bad. It's just I never got into it. I mean, if I ever do get into Bioshock, I would probably have to start at the beginning. I think in 2007, I think is when the first one came out. I don't know, but I'll let audiences decide if Courtney Draper is good as Elizabeth in Bioshock Infinite. Camilla Luddington as Lara Croft. I don't know. I mean, it's not that she did a bad job, but I think the character of Lara Croft in that game was just written. I don't want to say bland, but not really as dynamic as you would want. I mean, I don't know. I just wasn't really a huge fan of the new Tomb Raider reboot. I mean, I just think it stole a lot of stuff from other games that were more refined in those other games. I may have said this in my review, I may not have, but I think I think one of the biggest problems was that it was trying to out Uncharted. Um, and Uncharted basically pushes it basically pushes the human endurance of Nathan Drake so far. Some would even argue too far, that you can just barely believe that he survives this stuff. One could make the argument in Uncharted 2, however, that he would easily freeze to death wandering around in the Himalayas with rolled up sleeves, but whatever. I mean, but with Lara Croft in the new Tomb Raider, she is getting tossed around, she is getting impaled, she's getting scratched, she's getting stabbed, she's getting shot, and she's falling from these heights of 50 feet and just getting up, and I'm just like, I just call bull. That is a load of bull malarkey. But now I'm just getting back into the review of the game. Camilla Luddington, like I said, a lot of why I'm not really a huge fan of her work in Tomb Raider is honestly because of the writing, because of the way she had to portray it. But with what she had to work with, she was fine. I just wish she had a better script. Ellen Page, I'm going to say very little about Ellen Page because I already covered it in depth in my review of Beyond Two Souls. Ellen Page, I thought, was god awful in that game, and if she takes this award home with her, then in my opinion anyway, it will be solely because of her popularity. It will be solely because she's Ellen Page. I mean, she's a celebrity. Everyone knows who Ellen Page is. So I think there is a chance that she may get the award just for the sake of publicity and popularity alone, and that's unfortunate. But she does not deserve the award based on merit. I'm sorry. that's my 2 cents on the issue. Game of the year. Game of the year. I was actually a little put off by these choices. Um, Bioshock Infinite, Grand Theft Auto 5. I have no opinion on those. Like I said, I didn't play them. Super Mario 3DS, another Mario game. Um, I don't know. I mean, the Mario and Zelda games just. I mean, they're basically constantly improving the same game, the same type of game. And I don't. And considering Mario has become such a big video game icon, I don't think he needs another Game of the Year. I really don't. Um, that may just be my bias talking, but I think there are much more innovative games this year that deserve that award. Which brings me to the next nomination, which is The Last of Us. I can easily see The Last of Us getting this award. I can easily see that. The final nominee, Tomb Raider, I can't see. I can't see Tomb Raider getting the award. Well, if I were picking the award, I wouldn't pick Tomb Raider, but a couple games that were not on here that I was a little disappointed by. I wasn't disappointed by the games. I was disappointed by the fact that they're not on here. Sly 4 Thieves in Time. I mean, I really love that game. That really took me back. Again, this might just be me talking as me, not really as any sort of serious game critic, but for me anyway, Sly 4 was such an enjoyable experience. I mean, I really loved playing that game, and I really hope they do a sequel to address that cliffhanger at the end. But another game that I felt should have been on here, maybe Assassin's Creed 4, for something that's according to a lot of people improved so dramatically on its predecessor, Assassin's Creed 3, which actually left me and a lot of other people kind of underwhelmed. A game that improves on that in virtually every way, almost every way, surely deserves at least a nod. I mean, this has been described. I've heard people describe it like this. This has been described as basically the best thing to ever happen to the pirate genre in gaming. It basically does for pirate movies what Red Dead Redemption did for westerns. So I don't know. Studio of the Year. Irrational Games, Naughty Dog, Rockstar North, and Fulbright Company. Rockstar, I think the two biggest competitors are Rockstar and Naughty Dog. Rockstar for GTA 5, and Naughty Dog for Last of Us. Again, this just may be my bias talking, but I want Naughty Dog to win. Naughty Dog, I've stuck with them ever since the first Jak and Daxter game, so I really want Naughty Dog to win that one. But I think equally as likely is Rockstar winning. Everyone and their mother went to get Grand Theft Auto 5, so, and it's being called the best in the series. It's being called light years ahead of Grand Theft Auto 4, but whatever. Let's see. Best Shooter. Battlefield 4, Bioshock Infinite, Call of Duty Ghosts, Metro Last Light. Okay. I ask you, do Battlefield and Call of Duty really need any more encouragement to keep making sequels? Do they? I mean, if I was picking this category, I would give it to either Metro or Bioshock. Preferably Metro, even if their DLC was less than agreeable. But basically what they did is that they took I believe it was Ranger mode, and they took that out of the game if you didn't pre-order, and if you did not pre-order the game, the only way you could do that to access Ranger mode, which is basically hard mode, is pay $5 for the DLC. So that was a little ridiculous, but yeah, I would give that one to Metro. Best action adventure game. Now this is a little bit more what I'm talking about. Although one of the games I really liked, or two of the games I really liked, did get overlooked here. Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, Grand Theft Auto 5, Last of Us, Tomb Raider. Again, with the Tomb Raider, I'm just not seeing where all this love for the Tomb Raider game is coming from. I just found it to be a very very generic story. It's not really, well, I don't know. I just don't get it. I did not find nearly as much enjoyment out of it as the rest of you people did. But Last of Us, I can easily see taking this one home. GTA 5, I can easily see taking this one home. Probably the one that has the least chance of winning is Assassin's Creed 4. Unfortunately, but I wish that Lego Marvel Superheroes had gotten nominated. I wish that Sly 4 had gotten nominated. But what can you do? Best sports game. FIFA 14, MLB 13 The Show, NBA 2K 14, NHL 14. I know nothing about sports. I have never played a sports game in my life except for Fight Night Round 4. Next category. I have no opinion on the sports game. Best indie game. Good Home, Kentucky Route Zero, Papers, Please, The Stanley Parable. Now, I've never played any of these indie games, but two games that I believe, I could very well be mistaken here, but two games that I believe were independent games were Metro and Brothers, the Brothers game where you control each brother with one analog stick. Those look very good. I don't know why those weren't nominated, but best RPG. Okay, here we go. Final Fantasy XIV Online: A Realm Reborn, aka the apology for Final Fantasy XIV. Fire Emblem Awakening, Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch, and Pokemon X and Y. I can easily see Pokemon taking this one home. I can very easily see Pokemon winning this. Oddly enough, I haven't really played that many RPGs this year. I think I skipped out on Dragon's Dogma, the Dragon's Dogma sequel. Oh man. Basically the closest thing to role playing I've done this year are games that have had role playing elements in them, but are not actually quote unquote role playing games. Like Assassin's Creed 4, yeah, there were role playing elements in that one, but I don't really think you could classify that as a real RPG, because you're not really improving any of your stats. You're just improving your equipment and what weapons you have. So that Final Fantasy XIV Online. There's a chance that this might win. Okay, I basically jumped ship from Final Fantasy ever since 7. The last good Final Fantasy game I played was Crisis Core, Final Fantasy 7, which was a really good game. I really liked that game, but Final Fantasy 13 I thought was garbage. Final Fantasy 13-2 was also garbage. Final Fantasy 13-3 just looks so generic. It honestly looks like the developers have some element of contempt for their fans nowadays, because I don't know why they're trying to force this down their throats. They must know that the 13 games suck. I mean, they're. If any of you have heard about that DLC that they announced, I mean, I think it was pre-order 13.3, and you can dress Lightning up as Soldier First Class Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. They know that at this point, fans only want to see Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts 3. That's what they want, and their refusal to give that to them has resulted in these little teasers, these little tidbits that are like, yeah, we're not making it. We are going to finish what we're doing right now. But 14, it was a disaster when it came out back in 2010. When they squeezed it out right on the heels of 13. So, wow, 2 disasters in 1 year. But the remake, I did not have any interest to play it, but from what I've seen, it not only does it look generic and dull and honestly a little bland, but there is little to no voice acting. I mean that, MMOs, more and more MMOs are using voice acting for their NPCs. So why not this? I mean, I don't know, that it still relies on text bubbles. I mean, I've seen playthroughs of it, and there will be these long sessions where there's music, there are other sound effects like animal noises and weapons clanging or whatever, and then there will just be these text bubbles that'll pop up above the characters' heads, and it just looks so awkward, and it really slows down the pacing. I mean, talk about killing any momentum in your game. Just starting off with a bunch of text bubbles. Man. I will say this. The locations I've seen look like they're ripping off some good stuff. I mean, one of the first locations you go to, I think, at the game, I think one of the places you can start off in looks exactly like Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. I have no further comment. I have no further comment. Next category is best fighting game. Dive Kick, Injustice, Gods Among Us, Killer Instinct, and Tekken Revolution. I vote for Injustice. Injustice has my vote. I mean that game was just so enjoyable. It was actually a lot more enjoyable than I was expecting. I was just expecting. I mean, silly me, I underestimated NetherRealm. I just thought it would be this very cut and paste fighting game where they just have these DC superheroes and supervillains, and they don't really do anything with them. Not true. Like in the 2011 Mortal Kombat, the story was probably one of the best parts of this game. The story was very involving, and it was basically like an episode of Justice League. The Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. It was basically like an episode of that, which I found to be both nostalgic and very enjoyable. The voice acting was good. I mean, some of the graphics don't really look up to par. I mean, some of them look a little I don't know. Some of them just lack texture. Some of them look a little behind. But other than that, the fighting works great. There is a multitude of modes to choose from. There is a multitude of unlockables to work towards. All around, very mindlessly exhilarating experience. I hate to use the word mindless, but it but the combat, you're just swept up in this very over the top, purposely over the top, um, fighting mechanic that it basically works the same as Mortal Kombat, but unlike in Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, I wasn't really going saying to myself, where's the gore? I mean, I want to see the gore. Maybe it's because there are no Mortal Kombat characters in the game aside from Scorpion, who is a DLC character. But yeah, I really liked Injustice, and I hope that wins. Best driving game. This is kind of the same. This is kind of the same thing with a sports game, in my opinion, where I don't play driving games. I don't. I play fantasy games. I play fictional games. I play superhero games. I play sci-fi games. I don't play driving games, and I don't play sports games because those you can find in real life. Not saying anything against the hard work and the devoted fans to those games, but they're just not for me. Best DLC: Borderlands 2, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, Dishonored: The Knife of Dunwall, Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon, Mass Effect 3, Citadel. I'm kind of leaning towards Mass Effect 3 here, oddly enough. I mean, Far Cry 3, I enjoyed it, but I did not care one inkling about the story. I mean, Far Cry 3, I took every opportunity I could to just go out and conquer the islands and do side quests, and basically just put off the story as long as I could. So I wasn't really interested in any kind of DLC for that. Dishonored, I don't know. I kind of thought the story was complete. Borderlands 2, same deal. Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 needs, if ever a game needed something to satisfy the players, it was Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 is not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but that ending, people are still going nuts about that ending. People are still just insulted. They feel betrayed by that ending. So yeah, maybe the DLC could do Mass Effect 3 some good. Best Xbox game: BioShock Infinite, Brothers, Tale of Two Sons, Grand Theft Auto 5, and Tomb Raider. Don't have an Xbox, I have no comment. Best PlayStation game: Grand Theft Auto 5, Rayman Legends, Last of Us, Tomb Raider. Okay, here's the thing with Grand Theft Auto 5 and Tomb Raider and Rayman Legends, is that they are not console exclusives. They are not exclusive to either system. When I think of a console exclusive, I think console exclusive should be reserved for the categories like best Xbox game, best PlayStation game, best whatever. So when I think of console exclusives, I think of something like I don't know, Halo, God of War. That's something that should have been on the best PlayStation game. God of War Ascension. It wasn't as good as any of the other God of War games, but the multiplayer was surprisingly solid. The graphics were good. The gameplay was good. I mean, it was a little frustrating how you couldn't unleash your big, mighty, powerful, godlike attacks without building up a combo. But I don't know. I kind of liked it. It added an element of strategy to the game. It gave you an incentive to build up large combos, but Sly 4. I know I've kind of harped on this, but Sly 4 should have gotten at least a mention somewhere here, because especially on best PlayStation game, because the Sly Cooper games are PlayStation exclusives. Last of Us is a PlayStation exclusive. So Last of Us, I can easily see Last of Us winning that. Especially since, as far as I can tell, it's the only exclusive on there. Best Nintendo game: Pikmin 3, Rayman Legends, Super Mario 3D World, the Wonderful 101. For a second, I thought it was Wizard 101. And I was just like, really? That's not a Nintendo game. That's a computer game. But whatever. Um, I can see Super Mario winning this. I can easily see that. Rayman Legends. Rayman Legends. I'm actually glad the Rayman series is taking a step back in the right direction, in my opinion, because I tried playing Rayman Raving Rabbids 1. I could not get... Actually, I did get through it, I forgot. But I did not play any of the other ones. And I'm so glad that the Rabbids have kind of spun off into their own unsuccessful franchise. And the Rayman games are getting back to their roots. They're going back to the platforming and the beat 'em up style of the old school Rayman games. I actually hope they eventually work their way back up to 3D platformers like Rayman 3, and Rayman 2. But I just thought Rayman 3 was better. But that's just my opinion. I think the best Nintendo game will go to Super Mario 3D World because. But one Nintendo game that I actually thought kind of got overlooked, or two Nintendo games that I actually thought kind of got overlooked, were Pokemon X and Y, and then that new Zelda game. I forget what it's called. They're pumping out a Zelda game every year now. I've lost count. Same with Mario, and Pokemon. I mean, Nintendo keeps pumping out the same franchises every year. I mean, it's like an assembly line, but they improve them. I mean, to be fair, they do keep building on the game. So I guess I got to give them that. Almost done here. Best PC game: Battlefield 4, Gone Home, Papers, Please, the Stanley Parable. I haven't played any PC games, but I do think seeing the PC system brought up, that actually gives me an idea for a category that was not on this list, that I actually think should have been on this list, and that is best RTS. No, I mean, where are the RTS games? Where are the music games? Where are the best downloadable games? I mean, they did best DLC, but I don't know. It just seems like every year they're missing out on something. They're missing out on a category or two. But best RTS. Rome Total War 2 was kind of a disappointment to a lot of people. So I don't really know if they would nominate that for any reason other than popularity. But because the Total War series is very popular, it's a very accomplished RTS series. But I could be mistaken on this, but I believe they either have made or are in the middle of making a new Company of Heroes game. So I don't know. Maybe that should have gotten nominated if it even came out this year. I'm probably mistaken on that point, but best handheld game: Animal Crossing New Leaf, Pokemon XY, Tearaway, and The Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds. There's the Zelda game I was talking about. How can I put this? I can easily see Pokemon taking this too. One of the Nintendo games, either Pokemon or Zelda. I've not been very focused on games this year. I'm sorry, at least not the critically acclaimed games, at least not the high-profile games. I actually usually go for the discount bin. Best Casual Game, Animal Crossing New Leaf, Disney Infinity, Plants vs. Zombies 2, and Skylanders Swap Force. Okay, I cannot stand the Skylanders games, mainly because they killed Spyro. They killed Spyro for me, because when Spyro first showed up in the new Skylanders game, whenever it came out, he looked like roadkill. He just looked so bad. And people had mixed reactions toward the Legend of Spyro games because they were just saying, oh, it's just Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings and I love Spyro, so I didn't really have a problem with the Legend of Spyro games. I like that they tried to portray Spyro in a new light. I like that they went a different direction after the series just kind of fizzled out, in my opinion, fizzled out with Spyro 5, Hero's Tale, I believe it was. But I want old school Spyro back. I want a traditional Spyro game. I don't want any of these Skylander games anymore. I want them to go the Rayman route where they split it off into 2 franchises. I want them to have a Spyro franchise, and I want them to have a Skylanders franchise. The Skylanders franchise has established a firm enough foothold to stand on its own at this point. I mean, Plants vs. Zombies 2, I didn't play the first Plants vs. Zombies, nor did I play the second one. My brother did. He really loves it. I don't see it. Disney Infinity, that's kind of the same deal as Skylanders. It's basically the same game as Skylanders. You buy toys and then you scan them into the game, you unlock the characters in the game. But another title that I thought got overlooked in this one was, again, Lego Marvel Superheroes. The Lego games are casual games. They're perfectly accessible to those who are not hardcore gamers. That's one of the reasons why I really like the Lego games, is because they're just really lighthearted and entertaining games. They're just fun. I'm kind of in the same boat as Injustice when I say this. The Lego games are just so freaking fun. It's okay. So Animal Crossing. Does Animal Crossing really need? I didn't even know they made a new game, honestly. The gaming industry needs some more original stuff, which it looks like they're doing. They're doing Watch Dogs, they're doing Destiny, they're doing Titanfall, and one game that actually looks really good in my opinion is I believe Reese, Son of Rome. But then I was very disappointed when I saw that it was an Xbox One exclusive. I was like, oh man, I'm not buying an Xbox One. A, it's a stupid title. B, those really crappy policies that they probably will try to bring back at some point. If not those really crappy policies, then they'll try to install some other ridiculous new regulation on gamers. But I've stuck with PlayStation since the PlayStation 1. I'm not switching now. After 3 generations of PlayStations, I'm not gonna suddenly go, oh, let me go over here to this Xbox One system which everyone says is a ripoff, who were originally going to put insane regulations on used games. They were going to block used games unless you pay a fee. God, I'm really out of breath. Best soundtrack: BioShock Infinite, Grand Theft Auto 5, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch, and Last of Us. Okay. This is probably... I think I might be able to get the most agreements on this when I think Sly 4 was blatantly robbed when it did not at least get nominated for this category. There were several reviews that said that the soundtrack in Sly 4, done by the same guy who did the music for Sly 2 and Sly 3, there were many people that were saying that it was the best soundtrack that they heard in years. And it didn't get nominated for best soundtrack at the Spike VGAs. Last of Us will probably get this one. Actually, no. Grand Theft Auto 5 will probably get it. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5, if they're still doing the radio thing they did in the other Grand Theft Auto 5s, Grand Theft Auto 5 will probably get it. You know, where you get in a car and you can switch radio stations just like in a real car. Best song in the game, ADHD, performed by Kendrick Lamar in Grand Theft Auto 5. Sleepwalking, performed by the Chain Gang, 1974 in Grand Theft Auto 5. Survival, performed by Eminem in Call of Duty Ghosts. And Will the Circle Be Unbroken, performed by Courtney Draper and Troy Baker in Bioshock Infinite. Probably one of the GTA 5 titles will take that one home. Probably. Last category. Most anticipated game. Okay. This one I think has the most room for opinions. Most anticipated game: Destiny, Titanfall, South Park: The Stick of Truth. Really? All right. Watch Dogs and The Witcher 3. I'm siding with The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3, from what I've seen, looks phenomenal. I mean, The Witcher 3 looks like one of the greatest fantasy RPGs I've ever seen. Or not really. I don't know if it's an RPG. I forget. But it looks like the fantasy world that they create in The Witcher 3 just looks gorgeous. It looks like one of the best rendered fantasy worlds I've ever seen. And the way they go for this kind of stylized design for not only the characters but also the world, it really says something for how far graphics and programming have come over the years, and it also says something about how devoted the fan base is for the original novels that these games were based on, because these games were based on foreign novels. As for the other ones, I can't fathom South Park being anticipated. I mean, I can understand a season of South Park being anticipated, but the game, I don't know. TV games just so rarely work. I think the fondest example I can think of that people actually liked, at least recently, was Walking Dead. Destiny and Titanfall actually look really good. They look like these really big, epic sci-fi games. Those look amazing. My cousin is actually looking forward to Watch Dogs. I will say this: it looks good, but it just doesn't look like my cup of tea. It doesn't really look like something I would rush out to the store and play the first day. I mean, if anything, I would be satisfied if The Witcher 3, Titanfall, or Destiny took this award home. But one game I was actually surprised not to find on here was Thief, the new Thief game that's coming out. Because that's apparently a high-profile game that's coming out. That and Kingdom Hearts 3, which Square Enix openly announced or basically openly said, we announced the game too early. We are not nearly as far along as people think we are. Blah 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 blah. But it's still eagerly anticipated. It's been eagerly anticipated since the ending of Kingdom Hearts 2. And the subsequent spin-off games. The subsequent spin-offs, prequels, parallel games, whatever. Kingdom Hearts 3 has been looked forward to by fans for years. So, yeah, that's... Oh, another game that I'm actually... Well, I'm not all that surprised, but something I just would have considered at least to be an anticipated game is the new Battlefront game, the Star Wars Battlefront game. Not 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 Battlefront, the series, the Star Wars Battlefront. Um, uh, I don't know. I mean, I was a little disappointed. I was actually no, scratch that. I was very disappointed when the development team behind Battlefront 3 basically jumped ship due, I think, to poor management, to basically I think they said Lucasfilm or LucasArts were basically pressuring them. LucasArts was basically concerned with more with making money than actually making this grand, epic, phenomenal game. And that's one of the things that I think LucasArts has kind of become notorious for in recent years, because you have these because you have these Star Wars products that actually looked really good, like apparently the guys behind the Clone Wars TV series were gonna come back and do season 6. Um, and you had Star Wars 1313, which was basically Uncharted in space, but who says that's such a bad thing? And then you had Star Wars Battlefront 3. I think back in '09, it was where they basically took what the Battlefront developer had already given them. Like after the original Battlefront developer jumped ship, as it were, they took what they had and then just made it a PSP game. The Elite Squadron. But LucasArts and I suppose this does have to kind of do with Disney also. I mean, Disney did kind of have a hand in this within the past couple years. They just kind of put all these other projects in the trash in favor of like oh, we're gonna make new movies, we're gonna make new TV series, we're gonna instead of just not kicking a dead horse, we're going to continue making these movies instead of just letting the franchise rest in peace. Instead of just leaving it alone. Whatever. Whatever. I'm done. I'm done talking about the Spike Video Game Wars. I've never supported them, or at least not wholeheartedly. Then again, I've never really supported any awards shows wholeheartedly. I mean, I have several problems with the Oscars, but I'm not going to get started on that right now. But yeah, I don't even know how long I've been rambling here. Wow, I've been rambling for almost an hour. I'm looking at the timer right now. But I better stop. Bye.